Love and hilarity are the two most important things in life in that order. So love first, no matter what. And hilarity, without it, our lives are just so much less fulfilling, rich, connected, fun, all these wonderful things.
I do feel like I became toxic because of my resentment. And then I poisoned our friendship waters and she pulled the drain on it and was like, okay, I'm out.
In this space of unconditional love, of unconditional friendship, we are the template for the world, one person at a time.
Look around and you'll see them. Women out walking, in restaurants, at the airport, stores, driving in their cars. Women are everywhere. And every time you see a woman, you're seeing someone who has, at some point, struggled with a friendship. Because it's one of the most complicated, meaningful, and rewarding relationships of our lives. But how to do friendship well isn't talked about enough. So let's start. I'm Rachel Swartzen, former private investigator and TV journalist, and now host of the Best Friend Project, where we use original data and real stories to better understand how women find, make, and keep their friends. Thank you for listening. Do friendships last forever or inevitably grow apart? According to our survey, the answer is split. So what's really going on? Is friendship about choosing the right friends or learning how to be one? Welcome to the Best Friend Project, where we explore how women find, make, and keep friends and understand more about when and how to let them go. So today's episode was inspired by an Instagram post that I saw.
Crazy. I don't care about that. Put your hand in my hand, baby. Don't ever look back.
And as we all know, our algorithms will respond to what we respond to when we're on social media. Because I work in friendship, my algorithm is consistently populating with friendship videos, whether they're breakups, makeups, just people waxing on about toxic friends and ditching them and all the different types of friendship content you can imagine, including friendship videos. So a few days ago, I saw a video of these two friends and it hit me in ways that I completely did not expect because it got my attention. It made me laugh, then get a lump in my throat, and then tears just started welling up in my eyes. And I felt a fatigue and an exhaustion and a sorrow that I just didn't even see coming. The video showed two friends with long coats on and sunglasses singing their hearts out into Spatulas and Wooden Spoons to the 1987 #1 smash hit by Starship, Nothing's Gonna Stop Us. And the caption on the video said, "When you realize every love song is actually about your friendship." And what made me well up with this new tear experience was this feeling of like regret and loneliness and envy and joy. Because amidst my own personal heartbreak, which has led to the inspiration for this entire project, I've been left wondering if I have openly loved my friends as much as I could. Like, do I have untapped potential, or am I too insecure or too lacking in confidence to even like ask my friend to be silly and weird with me and put on a coat and sing a song? And that's what hit me. It was like, not only do I not have that person in my life, I probably don't have that person in my life because of me and choices I've made or not made or vulnerabilities I've been too insecure to show. And it's just made me so horribly sad. And so to better understand their friendship, their video, why they even created this video, and then have them help me understand what my role potentially is in it, I've invited them to join me on the podcast today. So joining me are these content creating friends from the video, Melanie Curtis and Shannon Lee. It turns out that Melanie is far more than a comedy content creator. She is also the highly sought after keynote speaker, world record skydiving expert, peak performance coach. Melanie teaches sales teams and leaders how to access results and impact to match their ambition. She does this all with a parallel of fierce and rebellious commitment to her own creative expression and leadership by example, using her public platform championing women and girls to take up unapologetic space in this world. And talk about yin yang. Shannon is a spiritual ambassador who brings a rare integration of scientific understanding, spiritual vision, and personal transformation to her work. Her life experiences have cultivated grounding compassion and unwavering commitment to advancing a more unified, compassionate, and peaceful world. She is a master plant sacrament facilitator, dreamer, coach, doula, author, artist, business owner, whose own work is rooted in over 3 decades of healing arts, expanded state exploration, and a devotion to God and Mother Nature. Welcome, Melanie and Shannon.
Yay! It's so wonderful to hear all that and to be here. Thank you so much for having us, Rachel.
It was amazing, like, because you
Thanks for
watch
having
these
us, Rachel.
videos and you're like, oh, there's just some goofy friends, you know? And then when I got to know, I'm like, oh my God, these are like brilliant, incredible women. And that even made it more fascinating to me that you're professional people, you're spiritual, you're deep, you're soulful, but you're also singing into a wooden spoon with glasses on. And as I intro too, the Best Friend Project seeks to understand how women find, make, and keep friends. And the find part is what really made me well up with tears, because I want to know how you guys found each other, but also how did you find it within yourselves to even know you had this type of friendship potential, this silly, loving thread within your friendship?
Mel and I met through skydiving, and Mel was an organizer at a drop zone where people skydive out in California, and I was living in Florida at the time, and I was a newer jumper. I had like 150 jumps or something, and I was emailing her about this event that I wanted to go to, which is like a big skydive party where a lot of people just travel and they have all kinds of airplanes and theme parties. And I was going to go alone, and I was emailing her about, can I bring my massage table? Because I used to do massage as well, and help pay for my jumps and my travel. And she was like, yeah, absolutely. And I never saw her in person. I didn't know who she was. You know, she wasn't the big famous person she is today. And I saw her on the packing mat in the drop zone, and it was like instant recognition.
Wow.
I knew who she was. It was like that. If you could have a love at first sight moment with a friend, it was it.
Yeah.
And I think Mel felt the same thing, but over time we have that has been tried and tested and been proven to be true. It wasn't just like this thing that we,
How long
were
ago
gushing
was
over
that
each
moment?
other. That was 2005.
Okay. Wow. So over 20 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah. And just to pop in, it for sure, I felt the same way. It was a mutual recognition moment. I've said this multiple times over the years about our friendship, that yes, we had that initial, soul connection, and we followed it up with 20 years of high integrity, follow through, keeping our word, cleaning up our conflicts, like really showing up in relationship through the mess and the majesty, as it were, of what's possible in friendship. I want to speak briefly, though, Rachel, to what you just shared about how do we do all these kind of deep things, but also have this kind of ridiculousness about us, this willingness to play and be funny and be dumb and like embrace the ridiculous, as it were. That's something I personally deeply believe in. One of the things I said years ago, Shannon, you'll love I think bringing this back up, is I used to say all the time, love and hilarity are the 2 most important things in life, in that order. So love first, no matter what. And hilarity, without it, our lives are just so much less fulfilling, rich, connected, fun, all these wonderful things. So I personally feel quite strongly that being ridiculous and leaning into comedy and humor and laughs and that type of stuff is a really important thing to do. So I am kind of constantly asking my friends to participate in this type of silliness with me, because I believe in it so much, as in service to how we can be more fully connected and fully self-expressed in the world.
Wow. I've never heard someone say hilarity and silliness and being in service in the same breath. But when you say it, it makes so much sense, because if we're not living in service of ourselves and others around us, then we're not being with integrity first, right?
The laughter is the medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and I think so many people that are professional are like, oh, no one can see that side of me, or that's not my brand, or what have you. And what I thought was so moving, and I rewatched this video more times than I want to admit. And it's funny because there's many videos of women singing and being silly, but there's truly something different about the two of you. And Mel, part of it for me is not just the song choice or the costumes, but when Shannon's singing and she's, in right close to the camera, you're in the background, like fucking unhinged, like the joy and the hilarity. I mean, like there's no, like, I'm doing this for the camera. Like you're doing that for you in that moment, expressing your love. And I literally can't watch it without crying. But it's like joyful, and like, it makes me feel hopeful. Like, okay, that's out there, because like, I know I had that when I was a little girl, but then as an adult, I mean, I've had very serious things happen to me, and they've changed me. And it's like, I think it's hard to talk about, but I think I'm starting to realize how much it's changed me. And yes, I've grown, and yes, I'm better for it. And, divorce is horrible. It happens to everyone. I get that. But like, my divorce was unique to me. I had little kids. It was 2009. The recession happened. I had to sell everything I owned to start this business that everyone told me was never going to happen and was impossible. At the same time, they're telling me no one will employ me because I hadn't been in the workforce for 7 years. So I was like, okay, so everything's true. I'm just unemployable, and I die? No. I sell everything. I start this business, but I didn't have time for friendships. I didn't have time to be silly. Like, I had the weight of the fucking world on my shoulder, and 3 children and all of these things. And then coming out of that was like, so watching that, I just felt like it really, it hit me in that way. And so I'm wondering, Mel, like, you have this effect on people. Like, there's a magic in, like, now I'm crying, but there's like a magic in you. And I can only imagine if that's what I get out of watching this on Instagram, like, what kind of responses do you get from your keynotes and these electric events that with MasterCard and Red Bull? And like, you're out there, but what do people have to say after they hear you in person?
Thank you for your sharing, by the way, first and foremost, because I personally believe, and obviously Shannon knows this, everything I'm about to say. Basically, Shannon already knows about me, so feel free to comment at any point, my love. I thank you for reflecting me back to me. Like, that is a wonderful thing just for me to experience, just sitting here today being like, wow, what I believe is possible actually is possible. And I'm seeing it now. I'm experiencing it through Rachel. Like, that's wonderful. Just so you know that's like, I think part of being a good friend is like, how do we help our loved ones be as in the world as themselves as they can be, and then show them that we see them, we know them, that they are held, that they are loved, regardless of what they are going through. Like, I'm right there with you. I got divorced, and man, was I as funny during those times? Was I crying all the time? Yeah. Was I not? Like, I wasn't as funny, to be clear. And because you have those chapters in your life, you know what I mean? One thing people have said to me, to answer your question, like, what response do I get from people when I'm either on a stage or whatever? I think there's a lot I could say about that. First, and I'll just say a couple of things. First, I love people. I deeply, deeply love people, and I'm infinitely fascinated by our human experience, which is why I talk about what I talk about in terms of accessing untapped potential and these ideas of what is the unfathomable extreme of what we can do in this life. Like, I'm very, very interested in all of that, and that's very true to me. So I am both calling people into that for themselves, but I am living it myself. And Shannon, we talk about this, about our friendship, as to why we are so drawn to each other is that we both care about that in our own ways. Like, you talk about, if you get Shannon talking about her facilitation work with plant medicines and how much she has done with her own work and how much space she has held for others, it is extreme in nature. And I mean that as a high compliment from coming from me. Right? Like, and the things that I do, I take them really far. So same goes for my comedy. I'm like, I believe so strongly that it's actually sucks, the whole we have to fit into a corporate box. Watch this. I'll get hired by MasterCard, BCG, yada, 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 all these big companies precisely because I am not that. Right? And I embody the messages that I espouse. So people, when they see me, when they're around me, I've had people at first kind of reject my positivity, my energy. It's a little too much. My intensity is not for everyone. But for people who stay with me over time, they realize that it's real. And when they're like, whoa, this is actually a real person, and she's not messing around, she's not fucking around, this is her. Then it's like, cool, I can trust this person. There's an integrity there. And so I want to pause and let Shannon dive in, but I could go on and on and on about all of these things.
First, I absolutely makes so much sense, because as a recovering people pleaser, I think that I would, and it's weird to even hear me say that, because if you had told me I was a people pleaser, I'd be like, no, I'm not, but how are you? But I think it's like, am I going to offend someone, or will somebody not like this, or, that kind of a thing. I tend to hide behind humor, and that's been pointed out to me. And so I can come across as dismissive or laughing something off. Which is,
I'm a recovering people pleaser as well, by the way, which is why I'm such a rebel, which is why my soul, my heart, my being needed rebellion, right? Yeah. That's one of the reasons why, is that my inner soul, my core essence rejects that, right? And so even when you're dealing with the people pleasing stuff, you're, at least for me, in my experience, I can only speak from my experience, it's both of those things. You know what I mean? So it's like, in my early years, when it was unconscious, there was a lot more sort of more reckless, unconscious rebellion from it. Whereas now that I'm quite aware of it as a pattern, I get to self-select with power, with positive power, with self-awareness. What are my values and how am I living into them? So I'm just a lot more consciously aware, and as such, consciously more powerful as a result of that. Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes so much sense. And I love that you said consciously, because I was not aware, but now I'm aware. And once we have awareness, it's our responsibility to turn that into power.
And I wouldn't be this person, this healed version, this more conscious and clear and radiant version of myself, without Shannon. Like, there's no way I would be here without her. And I want to give her a chance to talk.
Well, and I was going to say, that's such an interesting thing, because like, you skydive, and so you're up in the air. Shannon is like in the dirt, in the plants. Like, you skydive too, but I just picture like this like kind of global world, sphere of friendship, because you see the, earth from high above. But Shannon, I'm so curious about how, like, what you've learned from nature about harmony. Obviously, lessons abound, but how do you apply that to living human friendships?
One of the things that, nature has taught me so much, but one of the things that nature has taught me is that it doesn't lie. The only time I've thought about this, the only time I could find that nature is inauthentic is when an animal's in pain. They'll hide it, but that's a survival instinct. But for the most part, nature is pretty honest. It doesn't lie. It isn't inauthentic. A cat is a cat, a dog, a bird is a bird. Like, they are what they are, and it might be really annoying, but they just are. Like, we used to have these guinea fowl. And if you've ever heard guinea fowl, they can be obnoxiously loud. And it would, like, I'd be trying to do business calls during the day, and they would be outside my window going, bah, 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 bah. It's like, oh my God, shut the F up. Like, stop already. And then, like, my guides, my spirit guides were like, they're just being guinea fowl. And I was like, oh, I'm trying to change something from what it is to something else. And I think that transfers over to our friendships, because one of the most priceless gifts that we can give the people that we love and everyone in the world, like, we can talk about Mel and I's template for the world, but is to let them be who they are and to love them as they are and to stop trying to change people.
Yeah.
We can have boundaries and be like, that doesn't work for me. So, if your friend's always late or always canceling, then there's a boundary to be set there. You can accept them as somebody who's kind of flaky or really flaky. Mm-hmm. And then you're responsible for how much you engage or interact with that person. But you can still love them from a different distance, and so we learn to accept people as they are. And in loving them as they are, then they have the power, by being loved, to transform, whether consciously or unconsciously, and to show up differently because they feel loved and accepted in some of those internal dynamics of our psyche that, want to play games or be inauthentic, or, that get us in trouble with these cyclical patterns and, like, operating systems in our mind that don't serve us. Or maybe they serve parts of us, but not the whole of us. Then they kind of go offline in the space of love, in the space of unconditional love. And that is Mel and my template.
You mentioned that you have a friendship template. Is that just like a theoretical thing, or is there an actual template for your friendship? Like, what do you mean when you say template?
Yeah, so Shannon and I have a template for our friendship. We just came up with it kind of back in the day when we were in the early stages of our friendship, and we were feeling this real depth of connection from the beginning, and basically giving each other permission to lean into it and to acknowledge its truth, right? And so we were writing on a sticky note. I have it in the other room. I should have brought it to this interview, but it's basically, in this space of unconditional love, of unconditional friendship, we are the template for the world, one person at a time. And so Shannon and I have, over the years, it's like a mantra of any kind. It's like a core value. How are you living into that, right? So that for sure informs how we love each other, how we treat each other, the level of respect. How does unconditional love look in this experience we're sharing? How does unconditional friendship look and feel? What is it that I say from that frame? And also carrying that forward, if we're talking about being positive impacts in the world and radiating out this love and unconditional, this true, genuine love to the world, it also shows up in the micro engagements with other people. Again, not that it's easy, not that we don't set boundaries, not that everyone gets access to us. That's not what that means. But we can love universally and believe in our sort of core selves and know that that's making a positive difference in the world because of how we're showing up in it.
That was so important for me to hear, because something that I feel like I have gotten wrong about unconditional love, because if you would have asked me, I'll call her Gina, it's not her name, I would have said I love her unconditionally, because there was stuff that, like, not my same values, but like, I don't care, I love her. Or she's going through a hard time, or, that to me was unconditional love. What I think I did with unconditional love is sweep in unexcusable behavior under that unconditional love. And then that built up resentment. And then I started judging her and then internalizing things that she said and that meta perception of like, well, I think she meant this. And I think she thought and under that umbrella of unconditional love, I never sat her down and said, this is ridiculous. Why did you do this? Or why did that? I turned that, what I would have called unconditional love, into a toxicity. And, you know, people throw around toxic friendships. I do feel like I became toxic because of my resentment. And then I poisoned our friendship waters and she pulled the drain on it and was like, okay, I'm out.
Oof. I had to pause that episode right there because I was starting to spiral. You could hear me start to list off all the things I had done wrong, what she had done wrong. And this is a pattern. This is what I do. I get frustrated. I get my feelings hurt. I don't say anything. I internalize it. And it is just something I'm working on and I need to change. Fortunately, this project has exposed me to so many different types of friendships, Melanie and Shannon included. As you'll hear in part 2, they talk about a time that their friendship was in a similar, make or break moment and how they handled it, which is not how I would have handled it, which is why I'm alone and they're over there with this amazing friendship. Shannon goes on to teach me what a shadow friend is. Melanie goes on to explain in greater detail what keeps their friendship literally together and what they prioritize, which I hear her say and then I get wrong when I repeat it back to her. So it is complex because friendship is complex, because love is complex, because women are complex. But that's why we're here. And I am so grateful that you're listening to this episode. Please tune into part 2. You don't want to miss it.